Today, we're talking about fish and chips, the classic English comfort food. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is lesson 604 of Plain English. JR is the producer, and he has uploaded the full lesson content to plainenglish.com/604. That full lesson includes the transcripts of today's episode, a special step-by-step video walkthrough, translations, the fast version of the audio, exercises, and more. plainenglish.com/604. Thank you, JR. Today's story is about fish and chips, the classic English comfort food. We'll talk about what it is, and we'll explore a little of its history. In the second half of the lesson, I'll show you how to use the English expression sentimental value, and we have a quote of the week. Ready? Let's get going. Comfort food is food that has sentimental value. It gives you a sense of being at home. For many people, it reminds them of childhood dinners with family. Often, comfort food is shared among many people in a culture, and it's rarely healthy. In the US, for example, macaroni and cheese would be considered comfort food. It's something a lot of us eat as kids. It reminds us of home. It has good memories. And no, it's not healthy. In England, a classic comfort food is fish and chips. Chips are what we in America call French fries. Fish and chips is fried fish and French fried potatoes. They are often sold at dedicated fish and chip shops, or chippies for short. Early chippies were takeout only. Today, a lot of business is still to go, but many have restaurant-style seating as well. The fish is usually cod or haddock. They are both white, flaky fish caught in the North Atlantic. The fish is deboned and filleted. It's battered in a little water and flour and then deep fried in vegetable oil. It's common to squirt some lemon and sprinkle some salt on top. In England, fish and chips is served with tartar sauce, a creamy white sauce with a little bit of bite. In other parts of the UK and around the world, you might find different sauces. In Scotland, for example, they have their fish and chips with a brown vinegar-based sauce. The earliest known fish and chip shops opened in the 1860s, but the combination was definitely in use earlier than that. Cookbooks and even a Charles Dickens novel refer to fried fish and fried potatoes going together even before specialty fish and chip stands opened. At the beginning, fish and chips was considered a working class meal. It was a meal that blue-collar workers could get on the cheap before or after a shift. It wasn't for Sunday dinner with the family. Early chip shops served the dish to go, wrapped in discarded newspaper. Now that doesn't meet modern food safety standards. Think about the ink, but it's still common to be served to go in waxed paper or cardboard. During World War II, a lot of food in England was rationed. Bacon, butter, tea, milk, meat, cereal, cheese, all rationed. Shoppers exchanged a limited number of coupons for the food they wanted to buy. But fish and chips was one of the few things that was not rationed during the war. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister at the time, called fish and chips the good companions. Today, though, fish and chips is for all England. You can still find them at cheap takeaway stands wrapped in paper, or you can buy them at upscale restaurants in England and around the world. At the peak of its popularity, there were 35,000 fish and chip shops in the UK. That has fallen to about 10,000 now, but that's still a lot. Fish and chips has a religious origin. Historians think the combination originated in the Jewish community of Portugal. In the kosher tradition, dairy and meat cannot be mixed, so fish and chips was considered a flexible option because it let you serve dairy in the same meal. The dish also worked nicely with the long-standing Catholic tradition of not eating meat on Fridays. Catholics often substitute fish for meat on Fridays. Still today, fish and chips is a popular family meal on Friday nights in England, even among those who are more secular or otherwise do eat meat on Fridays. I loved fish and chips. I was in London for a semester in college, just 3 months. And these fish and chips shops, they were so good. The fish is served piping hot, and it's surrounded by a mound of French fries. They don't serve them in real newspaper anymore, but they'll often serve them in paper that's made to look like newspaper just for old time's sake. And they would fold up the paper in a cone so the fish would go in vertically, surrounded by fries, sprinkle some lemon and salt on top to die for. Now, you can definitely get it in a restaurant if your town or city has a British pub or British restaurant. Fish and chips will be on the menu, but it's not the same sitting down as standing up. Here's today's quote. It's from the chef, author, and TV host Julia Child. She said, "The only time to eat diet food is while you are waiting for the steak to cook." Julia Child brought French-style cooking to American audiences, and she was well known for not skimping on the butter. And she says the only time to eat diet food is while you are waiting for the steak to cook. I don't know if those are words to live by, but it's a funny quote nonetheless on this Fish and Chips Monday. Well, next up, we're going to talk about the expression sentimental value. Something has sentimental value if its value to you is more than what you could buy or sell it for. Something, it's often a physical thing. It makes you feel good. It's valuable to you, but other people might not pay for it. Family photographs, for example, have sentimental value. Things that you buy on vacation, souvenirs, which remind you of fun times in the past. These have sentimental value too. You couldn't ever sell them. When you bought them, you didn't pay very much, but they have greater value to you today because they remind you of good times, because they make you feel good. I don't wear jewelry, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people have jewelry that was in their family for a long time. So someone today might have her grandmother's wedding ring. That ring is old. Maybe it's not particularly valuable in the market. Maybe it would not bring in much money, but for the person wearing the ring or who has the ring at home, it has sentimental value. It brings back memories and feelings from a cherished relative. When you lose things in your house to a fire or a robbery, for example, often the biggest losses, the ones that hurt the most, are the things of sentimental value. You can always replace an iPad. You can replace jewelry that you've recently bought for yourself, but you can't replace items that have sentimental value. You can't go to the store and buy something that gives you great memories of an experience or of a person who is no longer with us. And so that's the most common way of using sentimental value. Use this with photos, baby clothes, gifts from friends and relatives, souvenirs from vacation, yearbooks, even sometimes marriage or immigration certificates can have sentimental value. My grandparents had framed copies of marriage and immigration documents from their parents hanging in their house. Now, the way I used it in today's story about fish and chips was a little different. I said that comfort food often has sentimental value. I'll admit this is not the most common way to use sentimental value, but it's the same idea. I gave the example of macaroni and cheese. This is in so many American households. You can make it from a box. You can get it frozen. That's how I had it growing up. Stouffer's mac and cheese. It came in an orange box in the freezer aisle. Or you can make mac and cheese fresh. Well, macaroni and cheese is comprised of two main ingredients: macaroni, which is pasta, and cheese. That's it. Often the cheese is a dry powder in the box. Delicious. For many adults today, mac and cheese isn't good because it has a great flavor. It isn't good because it's nutritious. It isn't any of those things. We like it because it has sentimental value. Sure, it isn't really good, but it reminds us of good times. It brings out good feelings in us. We remember being served mac and cheese at home as kids. And that's all for today's audio lesson. Remember, there's much more available on the website. Today's video lesson is about how to describe making substitutions. Also, we show you how to talk about nicknames. That's all at plainenglish.com/604. So make sure to check that out. We'll be back on Thursday with a new lesson. See you then.